Hello and welcome to my channel. Today we are making Kolokithopita, which is Greek for zucchini pie. This pie originates from the islands of Lesvos in northeastern Greece. How interesting. Kolokithopita is a traditional savory Greek pie made from phyllo and stuffed with delicious filling. Just look how beautiful this looks in the oven. These are the ingredients that we are going to be using for this delicious zucchini pie. This zucchini pie is full of flavor. The main ingredients is of course the fresh zucchini and the feta cheese. But I also added 2 other different cheeses. You will see them later. There is nothing like using fresh herbs. It just takes the dish to a different level. Before we get started, let me thank you for watching. I only ask that you subscribe to my channel and don't forget to hit the bell for future videos. Prepping time is approximately 30 minutes, and that is because I'm going to be using a food processor instead of a box grater. So let's start by cutting the ends of the zucchini. Always rinse your vegetables before starting. I started grating the zucchinis on a box grater, but realized this is going to take me a while. So you see how nice it looks, but I decided to do something different. So I went ahead and pulled out my food processor and cut up the zucchinis and went ahead and threw them in there. And look at this. Nice, a little bit thick, but that's about it compared to the grated one. But it saves me some time, so I went with the food processor. So this is the reason why prepping for the zucchini pie only took me 30 minutes. It would normally take someone 45 minutes if you're using a box grater. Once we're done, we start transferring our grated zucchini to a mixing bowl. Look how beautiful this zucchini looks. Now we're going to go and transfer the zucchini to a cheesecloth. This is to release all the excess water the zucchini has. By the way, the zucchini water is full of nutrients, so I like to freeze it and use it later to make some delicious soup. As we set our zucchini aside, we start cutting our onions. Then we're gonna go ahead and start micing our garlic and slicing our green onions. Once we dice our onion, we continue mincing our garlic as much as we can. We want very, very small little pieces. We set aside, and then we want to go ahead and slice those green onions. I also like to save the green onions bulk with the root end down in a small cup with just a little bit of water to grow more green onions later. Just keep it where there is light. Now let's go ahead and start cutting our beautiful herbs. This makes our dishes so delicious. I'm telling you, if you don't cook with herbs, you just need to start. The deal is basically approximately, I want to say like 3 tablespoons of fresh. You could even add an extra one. It is not gonna change the flavor. I always say when you're using herbs, you could use even more. It always tastes really nice. And the mint is the one that's probably like 1 tablespoon. We are using 3 different cheeses, so let's get them ready. I'm actually using, besides the feta cheese, which is the main cheese that we use for this type of pie, I found this soft Gouda cheese, which by the way is delicious, and it does melt really nice inside the pie. So there's no need to grate the Gouda cheese. And of course, we always want to measure feta cheese. You can also use the block cheese instead of the one that comes grated already. So these are basically our cheese and herbs. So let's now go to the stove and get a nice large pot on medium heat and add olive oil. For the most part, I always start with my onions. For some reason, I started with garlic, but I guess it really doesn't matter. So we're incorporating and sauteing basically all of these vegetables. Maybe like 5 minutes. We don't really need to cook them that much. And I do add a little bit of extra butter. So the butter kind of gives it a nice flavor. Just make sure that you are using real butter or ghee butter. Now we return the zucchini that we had set aside earlier. At this point is where I'm using a little bit of salt. You just got to be careful with the salt. You don't want to go too crazy with it because you know the feta cheese is a little salty. Look how beautiful this zucchini filling is looking. Oh, it's so delicious. Now we're going to get ready to start adding our herbs. We want to incorporate all these flavors. So yummy. Now we start to add our cheeses one by one. If you do use a different type of Gouda cheese, then I would suggest that you might want to grate it if it's a little bit harder. This one that I am using is a nice soft one. Look how beautiful this looks. Very delicious. Now it's time to add our eggs. I don't like to add the eggs whole. I prefer to beat the eggs before adding them to the filling and mixing it very well. Look how beautiful it's looking already. Beautiful. And so tasty. You will not be disappointed with this recipe. I don't add any salt at this stage because we already added the salt at the beginning, and like I said before, the feta cheese is a little salty, so you want to be careful with that salt. Look how beautiful that looks. Well, we're ready to start the assembly. The phyllo that I am using is number 4. Once we open the box, we're going to separate the phyllo in 2 equal parts. We're going to use half of the phyllo to start the bottom part of the pie and the other half to cover the filling. At this point, we want to make sure that we have everything we need to start putting the pie together. And be very careful with this dough as it is very thin, which is why we want to work fast with the dough to avoid it from drying and cracking. Add the breadcrumb at the bottom of the pan and spread. This helps absorb excess liquid that is released by the zucchini. We're taking one sheet at a time. We start with the one layer, and we're going to make sure that we add butter to each of the sheets. And as you can see that I'm going halfway in the pie and the other half is out. So try to do it the same way you're seeing it here, and don't worry if it gets a little bit of wrinkle. It's all going to be fine at the end. Look how beautiful that looks. Now we're going to add our filling. Beautiful. Now we're going to go ahead and spread that out. And then start covering the top layer. Basically, we're doing the same thing that we did when we started. We had that first cover there, first sheet, a little bit of butter, as you see. It looks like a lot, but it really isn't. Once you have everything you need and you prepare your table, it's pretty simple. Look how beautiful that looks. And like I said, don't worry, it doesn't have to look perfect because it's going to go into the oven and it's going to come out looking beautiful. And make sure you do use real butter or ghee butter. Some people use olive oil, but I think the butter gives it a better flavor. And when you're getting ready to use the phyllo dough, always keep in mind to separate it. Do half and half, because half is going to go in the bottom, the other half is going to go in the top after you do the filling. I'm crinkling up the last, I think I had like 8 or 10 sheets. So instead of just laying them one on top of the other, I decided to just crinkle them, just making them a little bit different, just for style. And then we're going to throw a lot of butter on top. And if you think it's not enough butter and you run out of it, the butter that the recipe calls for, then just melt a little bit more. You'll be fine. Look how beautiful. The sesame seeds is optional. I just think it looks nicer. And you do have to cut the pie before you put it in the oven. And the reason for that is because once it's out of the oven, then when you start cutting, you're going to have a mess of little phyllo dough all over. And it just looks prettier when you cut it before. Now this here, these little phyllo shells, I actually found them when I was looking for the regular phyllo for the pie. And I decided to pick them up and show you guys how cute they are and delicious. They're already done, so all you have to do is just put a little bit of butter, save a little bit of the filling, and fill them up. They basically take around 15 minutes just to bake, but I thought it was a great idea for gathering, you know, appetizer. Look how cute they look. So delicious. And they are actually delicious. I think my husband and I ate them all in one sitting. That's how good they were. Look how beautiful the zucchini pie and the mini cups look in the oven. So yummy. Well, look at that beauty. It's delicious. Well, this is it. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time or our next video. Don't forget to subscribe, share, and like. Bye.